So Courtland Warren has been here several times as a speaker. I don't think I need to introduce him, but I'm just going to say, Courtland, come talk to us. Come enlighten us.
Good afternoon. How we doing? Better, okay. All right, so unlike life, I'll give us a second chance. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity. And before I begin, I do want to express my consideration and concern for those affected by the fires. It was hard to believe that was occurring, but I did reach out to Chris. And so if you are or your family was affected, I want to express that I did pray that day, and I continue to pray. Before eggs were so expensive, there was something else that was everywhere. They were so commonplace and so ordinary that they got overlooked a lot. You would see them in like garages, and they might work as stairs in a garage. They might hold records. You would see them behind buildings and so forth. And what am I speaking about? Milk crates. They were so ordinary that they were overlooked, but mine was different. And I bring it back today because I believe it holds some insights into how to remain grounded when around you there is uncertainty. Now, I know that the good book says that, children are to obey their parents because it's the right thing to do. But I have a confession. There was this one time when there was one time in particular when I did not. I didn't grow up with my dad. My dad left when I was 4 years old. That only matters in this context because the only gift that I ever remember receiving from him was contained inside a green milk crate. Now, periodically when I would talk to my dad, he would call down to Idabel, and every now and then, not often, frankly, he would check in on how my sister and I were doing. And one particular time, he called and he let me know that, first, he worked for Frank's Glass in Oklahoma City. And he installed glass and, in glass and mirror in residential places. And in our conversation on this particular day, he revealed that he noticed that the largest homes that he would go into and install glass, he noticed that those homes didn't just have books. They didn't just have bookshelves. He noticed that they had libraries. And so in my mind, it was hard to fathom how a home could be so large that it would actually have a library, but this was something that he noticed. And so curiously, and we'll come back to that word in a moment, curiously, I wanted to know, well, what types of books are in the homes of people who have the success that they could have a library? And he said, well, I will take a look and I'll let you know. Fast forward, maybe it was several months, it could have been a couple of years, I'm not sure, but I was running in the state track meet. Now, I'll pause parenthetically. In case you don't know, Idabel, Oklahoma is a track and field powerhouse. Yeah, that's just an Idabel plug there for Chris and I. But anyway, he came to the state track meet. We won that year. I was a junior in high school. And as we were walking off of the field and the team is headed to the bus, I'm walking with my dad. This was the first track meet that he'd ever witnessed, he'd ever saw me in. And so I have, a teenage kid's pride that his dad showed up to the track meet, and I got gold medals while I was there. And as we're walking to the bus, he says, "Oh, hold on a second. Wait a minute. I got something for you. Walk over here with me." And we walk over to his work truck. I can still see the white Ford pickup with the red lettering of Frank's Glass. And he reaches over the back of the truck and he hands me this crate full of books. And that milk crate, as I go to the bus now, I get on the bus and my teammates are like, "What are you doing with those books?" And with pride, I said, "My daddy gave me these." It was the first gift that I'd ever remembered receiving from him. And their question was, "Well, why did he give you some books?" And I didn't have an answer. But while they sat at the back of the bus celebrating the win, I sat towards the front and I started to peel through some of the books that were contained there, like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking, and Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, and Les Brown's It's Not Over Until I Win. And as I was reading through these pages and skimming through, trying to get the point or the message that he was sending, it was unlike anything that I had ever read before. It was unlike anything that I had ever studied. And there was a part of me knew that inside these pages there were some truths to how to live a successful life. The drive is over, that bus ride is over. We get back home, and as I'm walking into my house, my mom, she didn't pay attention to the gold medals that I had. She noticed this crate of books that were in my hand, and when she said to me, "Where did those books come from?" I said, "Oh, Daddy gave them to me. He was at the track meet." Her immediate response was, "Get them out of here. I don't want anything here having to do with him. Get him out." That's all he ever did, was read. But he never took action on the stuff. Get him out. My mom is the type where I knew that there was no debating. There would be no conversation. There would be no back and forth. She was one of those, I said it once, and that's all I'm going to say it. And so I walked out disappointed, but I just walked to my grandmother's house, who lived just directly behind us. And there in the back of her house, she had a blue tarp, and I covered that crate of books up with the tarp there amongst the greens that she was growing and the chickens that were running around that night. I covered them up. And one by one, I would take a book from the crate. And those became my book reports in my junior and senior years in high school. It's the way that I got into personal development. One by one, I would take a book out, and that would become the book that I would read. We fast forward to today, and I know that there is an incredible degree of uncertainty. We're not sure from one day to the next what's to happen or what will be reported. And some in this room could be at a place in your life where you have some questions about how it will all unfold. Questions like, do I matter? Will I still be relevant? What's going to happen to me? These are questions that I view as valid. And I have, as it turned out, that crate of books provided me with a framework that I use whenever I am uncertain. And I'd like to share it with you. It's a five points. It happens to spell out the word crate. The C is for curiosity. In uncertain times, one of the greatest skills or attributes is that of being curious. The American philosopher Eric Hoffer said that in times of change, the learners will inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. In times of change, the learners will inherit the earth, while the learned, you know them, they know everything already. You can't get a word in edgewise. We've been there and we've done that. The learned find themselves beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. In times of uncertainty, one of the greatest attributes is that of curiosity, being willing to ask questions specifically about how you've always done what it is that you do. Being willing to question, is this approach, even though it is the approach that we've used for decades, is this the approach that will work? The R is for refusal. Refusal. It's not defiance. Refusal is different than defiance. Sometimes it is the nature of an environment asks of us to refuse to give up what we know to be true, the principles on which we stand, regardless of what the masses may be doing. It's the willingness to not give up what you know to be a truth. Though my mother was still resentful towards my dad and was adamant that she did not want those books in her home, because of what I had read, I knew that it represented a truth. Those books that I read sparked a career, a life, and a lifestyle that has had me from South Africa to West Africa, across the United Kingdom and across the United States, because I was willing to refuse denial of what I experienced as a truth. In times of uncertainty, you will struggle if you don't have principles on which you stand that are non-negotiables. A person with non-negotiables can be blown about every place. Refusal is required in times of uncertainty. The A is for advocacy. Many of you in this room have built businesses, but it's more likely that you will be remembered not because of what you built, but because of who you brought. Not because of what you built, but because of who you bring. I'm here because of Chris, an advocate. Yeah, we happen to be from the same hometown, but there is a sense of excitement, joy that I get that one time a year when I get to come to this event. Of all of the speaking engagements that I do, I shared this with him, of all of the speaking engagements that I do, this particular event has spawned more opportunities than any place else that I speak. From speaking at the OSU Foundation to then speaking to the Big 12 kind of Council of Foundations to getting to play at Karsten Creek. It has spawned more opportunities. But it started with advocacy. And so my question to you, in times of uncertainty, who are you advocating for? Who are you standing for? Who are you inviting into rooms that they otherwise may not enter? But because of what you've built, there are those who will listen or those who will invite those that you bring. So the C is for curiosity, the R is for refusal, the A is for advocacy, the T is for tenacity. It is being called we're all being called to do something beyond what is just comfortable. I notice people on a daily basis who sacrifice greatness for comfort all the time, where they choose comfort over greatness. It requires a level of tenacity and willingness to be laughed at long enough for the laughter to become applause. Do you have that in you? Are you willing to stand for something, build something, create something that may initially spark laughter, but eventually becomes applause? Those buddies of mine who laughed because I got on the bus proud that my dad had gave me a crate full of books. Today, they applaud. Today, they want book recommendations. Today, they wonder how it was that I knew even then that this was the work that I wanted to do. Or are you one who, because of criticism, because of fear of what others might think, you sacrifice what you stand on, you sacrifice what you know is right because the crowd is not moving in that direction? Being tenacious is also required. And then the E is for environment. Perhaps the most important is environment. We can't do anything to force growth. What we can do is ensure that what we're desiring to have grow is in an environment that is conducive. For example, the acorn. Now, this will sound weird, but check my time, I'm still good. Okay, so it sounds weird, but I have a fascination with acorns. I know it's kind of a weird thing, but I even have a bronze one at home. It's pretty heavy. But mainly because when I look at an acorn, what is fascinating to me is that contained within that small seed is all of the intelligence necessary for it to become an oak tree. It's fascinating to me that that small seed could actually produce a forest. It's fascinating to me that everything necessary, the intelligence necessary, all of the instructions necessary for it to become an oak tree is already contained within the acorn, within the seed. And I have that belief about human beings. Call me crazy. I have that belief about human beings that we come into the world with everything that we need to be, to do, to have, whatever we can imagine. All of the intelligence necessary for us to lead a fulfilling and meaningful life is contained within us already. The differentiator is the environment. We don't see oak trees in the desert. They definitely won't grow if we leave them on the concrete slab when we're walking through, like, the park, right? There is an environment that is necessary or that is conducive for its growth. Now, this will take some imagination, but hey, we're all as smart as fifth graders, so we know this now. It's going to take some imagination, but I want you to imagine being an acorn. And no. Actually, don't imagine being an acorn. Imagine that you're walking on the sidewalk through a park one day, and there's an acorn that is on the sidewalk, the concrete. And you, because you're being a good, environmental person, hey, that acorn cannot grow from here. You listen to Courtland real closely today, and so you decide that you're going to kick the acorn back over into the grass. Now, here's where the imagination must take over, otherwise this will not make sense. But when you kick the acorn back over to the grass, you hear like an ouch. You kicked me. And you start to keep walking. Did that acorn just say ouch? And it's like, yeah, that was me. Told you it's going to take some imagination. But you look over, you go and you pick the acorn up. He's like, all right, well, I didn't mean to kick you. I didn't know it was going to hurt, but I know that you're not going to grow in this environment, so I put you back over in the grass. And then, the acorn asks you the question, well, hey, since I got you here, I want to be a towering oak tree. He said, yeah, I got it. That's your purpose. That was the reason why I put you back over in the grass. And the acorn says, no. I want to be a towering oak tree like now, like today. He said, oh, no. I get it. But that's not the way it works. See, we have to plant you in the ground first. He said, oh, no, absolutely not. I don't want to be planted in the ground. It's dark down there. I don't want to be planted in the ground. I just want to be an oak tree. And the acorn responds, I get it, you want to be an oak tree. However, if you're going to ever be an oak tree, we got to plant you in the ground. And the acorn is like, I don't think you understand. I don't want to be planted in the ground. I'm just ready to be an oak tree. You say, listen, I've got to get to the Rotary meeting. Not going to stand here and argue with you about this, okay? If you want to be an oak tree, then we must plant you in the ground. He said, but it's dark. And sometimes the dirt is kind of wet, and there are worms crawling around, and sometimes squirrels dug up. I had squirrels dig up some of my friends, and I don't know what's going to happen when I get planted down there. I don't want that. I'm just ready to be this towering oak tree in the middle of the park where people who are in love with each other, they walk, and then sometimes they take a picnic underneath the shade that I provide, and they don't know that it hurts, but they etch in their initials saying how much they love each other. Like, I just want to be that. I don't want to be planted in the ground, and you're like, look, this is your final chance, buddy. I'm leaving, and before I go, I'm willing to do what's necessary in order for you to be an oak tree, or you can stay here and be eaten by a squirrel. The acorn agrees. We plant the acorn in the ground. Now, before the intelligence of the acorn can really be revealed, before the acorn will ever become an oak tree, what must it do? I asked that question. He goes, oh, it needs water, it needs sunlight, it needs this, it needs that, it needs this, it needs that. All of those things are accurate technically. But in truth, before it will ever become an oak tree, what it must do is it must cease to be a seed. It has to be willing to give up what it's familiar with, what it's comfortable in. It must be willing to give up what it already knows about being a seed if it will ever be an oak tree. And that's only done in the right environments. Whether it's, happy bucks or crappy bucks, whether it's the ritual of the Pledge of Allegiance and then the prayer, there's something about having disciplined systems that actually grow people. Make sure that you are in an environment, particularly during times of uncertainty. I can't tell you what to do. I would encourage you to be in or to ensure that you are in environments that are conducive to your growth. You'll know that based on what you listen to, your source of news and information. Perform an audit. We were just talking about April 15th. Perform an audit of the conversations that you're in this week or the conversations that you're a part of next week. Particularly now, I would encourage you to perform an audit of the conversations that you find yourself in. And are they conversations that are rooted in worry, or are they conversations that are about growth? I believe it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, small minds talk about other people. Average minds talk about the problems. Great minds are focused on the solutions. And the conversations that you find yourself in, are they conversations that are geared towards solution? Or is it small-minded, trivial conversation? It is no question in my mind that what you do matters and who you are makes a difference. If for no other reason, then it provides me the opportunity to have yet another experience of sharing with a group of people who give the most important asset that they have, in my view, and that is their attention. So thank you so much for yet another opportunity to speak to this group. I'm grateful to you, and if all goes well, we'll be back sometime next year. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, that's it.
So
no.
That's right. Does anybody have a couple of quick questions? If you're willing to take a question.
Yeah, I forgot about that part.
That's all right. We got 3 or 4 minutes.
You would think I would know. But
You might have enlightened us so much that we don't have questions. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll just make a plug for Courtland over here.
Whoop.
What's your current favorite book?
My current favorite book? Well, I got introduced to this book called The Book of Charlie. Have you read it? Oh, man. That's a good
She's
one.
in a book club. She's writing that in right
The
now.
Book of Charlie. The Book of Charlie. That's my current favorite book. I would say the Bible is my favorite book. And then beyond that, I would say that it's The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. Yeah. Question? Yes, sir.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Les Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do a Les Brown for us?
Can I do? I don't.
The-
No,
maybe-
I'll
maybe
leave.
the-
I'll leave Les to Les.
Maybe the hungry one.
Yeah. No, I'll leave Les to
Oh,
Les. I
come
don't.
on.
Yeah, I'm not really good at like gimmicks and stuff.
I was just going to make a plug for Courtland. You mentioned you spoke at the Big 12 Development Conference last year, and so many of those folks at the Big 12 Conference I've ran into at other conferences and events, and TCU is hosting this year.
Oh, really?
And I asked them, I said, who's your guest speaker? Who's your guest speaker? And they said, oh, we can't outdo the one that y'all got.
I appreciate
They
that.
said, we thought about asking him back, but we didn't want an OSU guy there. So
That's fair. Thank you very much for that.
So that's a plug for Courtland. If y'all have strategic planning sessions or company retreats, he's a great speaker.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Hey, Courtland, obviously you're well-read, you're well-spoken, you think a lot. So let's imagine tomorrow that for whatever reason we'll start local. You're the governor of the state of Oklahoma. What needs to happen to move us forward as a state in your mind?
I think, first of all, it's a great question. And for me, it's simply this. I think we're moving into an environment where only your best will be allowed. That's one of the things that excites me about the future, is that we're moving into a place where only your best will have a place. And so I don't believe that anyone wins when we accept less than the best from anyone. So as a state and people moving forward, create conditions where not only is your best encouraged, but less than your best isn't even tolerated. I believe that would move us forward for sure. All right, thank you.
So we believe in literacy here.
Okay.
We'll be donating a book to the public library in your name.
Man,
And I want to say thank you again for your awesome talk today.
thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you all.